Shabbat Shalom, everybody.
Shabbat Shalom.
The three past parshiot, I call these parshiot Shalach, Korat, and Hukat. The parsha that really speaks to the human condition, the pains that we all experience. This is something that we can relate to. A few weeks ago, we read Parshat Shalach, and this is truly the uncertainty that leads to fear. This is when Moses orders the 12 spies to go out and to take a peek at the land, and the 10 spies return saying they are unable to reconquer the land, which caused fear among many of the Israelites that angered God. But I think many of us can speak to something in life that truly makes us afraid. That was Shalach. And last week we read from Parshat Korach, where someone believed in the idea that merit doesn't matter, where everyone is holy, and led a failure of a rebellion. But in this rebellion, Moses and Aaron, they too were upset that so many Israelites bought in and so many Israelites remained silent during this rebellion. I think there are times in our life, and we can think of instances where we wish that we got the promotion, but at the end of the day, we didn't have the merit. And here we are at Parshat Hukat. Again, this speaks to the danger, the uncertainty in the wilderness. And this is the fear that the Israelites had. They were afraid and even wanted to go back to Egypt, to live under slavery, where they had at least some type of stability. And once again, Moses found himself frustrated. His anger got to him, and his behavior led to him being banned from entering into Eretz Yisrael. So there's three parshiot, Shalach, Korat, and Hukat. It's about the human condition. It's the natural anxiety that the Israelites faced, and of course that we face in our lives. It's the stress that we experience. And if not the stress, perhaps it's the pain. And this has always been a part of not just history for the Jewish people, but every human in this world. I know that anxiety and stress and pain has been on our mind. A week ago, a horrible attack in the suburbs of Chicago and Highland Park. I'm sure many of us in this Jewish community have some connection to Highland Park. But also in Chicago, maybe 20 to 30 miles south of Highland Park, 14 people were murdered in its south side, which often gets ignored. Last year, the south side of Chicago had roughly 800 murders. And also on this July 4th, there were shootings in Philadelphia, New York. And a week and a half ago, it really didn't make the news, there was a shooting attack in Denmark, a country we often try to emulate, but didn't expect a shooting to be there. We've seen the sharp rise of violence in many cities. And I know there's a lot of passion regarding recent Supreme Court rulings. I know a lot of us are resorting to punditry. I call this the reinforcement of belief. And it's hard to see the good right now in this world. I do believe that Judaism can speak to matters that we're facing as a collective society. I think it can help us, it can guide us. I know many of my colleagues spoke about the aforementioned issues the past 2 weeks, whether it was abortion, prayer in the public sphere, or gun control. I believe that the synagogue has to be the foundation of three things. It's God, it's Torah, and it's Israel. It's this sanctuary, it's all synagogues that should be removed from the punditry of life. Some rabbis call the Torah a political document. I do disagree. At its best, it's a vassal treaty between God and the people Israel. This place, for nearly over 150 years, it has to be free from the noise. This place is to pick you up during your most difficult hour. It's to comfort this congregation. It's to assist by word and deed. But I know so many of us are hurting of what we're seeing. And if I can, with humility, I want to paint a picture as to where we are as a country, offer a diagnosis, and attempt to offer some type of a prescription. But just some data points. Fewer Americans believe in God. There are more Americans that won't attend any religious institution, whether the synagogue, a church, or a mosque. We've seen the radical importance of the self. Community is not what it used to be. For the past 30 years, we've seen a mental health pandemic, sharp increases of depressive disorders and schizophrenia. Between 2013 and 2021, anxiety, stress, depression, college students, it surged over 135%. We are more stressed, we are more anxious, and I think part of it is the cell phone. Data teaches us that social media is leading to such aggression. We have a country that is broken, too much cable news. Again, we are addicted to our devices. Whether we're on 18th Street, Crestline Village, Mountain Brook Village, too many teens are glued to this and not having that face-to-face relationship. And here's the stat, but I think really speaks about where we are as a country. 88% of Americans believe that the United States is in the wrong direction. 88% of Americans believe that what we're doing isn't working. To get back to our parashah, in Parshat Shalach and in Parshat Hukat, when Moses heard the news of the 10 spies and when Moses found out the people wanted to go back to Egypt, Moses fell on his face. I think we too are falling on our face. Our rabbis teach us that when Moses fell on his face, this was perhaps a sign of humility. But it's our great medieval commentators that teach us Moses falling on his face was for him to way to prayer, to seek to God, to hopefully get the Israelites to have faith in something that we need to have. A sermon can't control social media. A sermon can't control how our teens use their cell phones. Sermons can't write laws, but the shul, the Torah, the music, our prayers, it's the joy of Judaism that can lead to some goodness that we need. These parashot speak to the uncertainty of the Israelites. But at the end of the day, Moses saw the good in the people. He found heroes like Joshua. And for us, we can never give up on seeing the good in people. The foundation of Torah, Israel, God as our base. When we return the Torah back to the Ark, our liturgy tells us to celebrate the old, renew our days of old. I think many of us can think of a life that is pre-social media, pre the smartphone 2007. As I see physicians in this room, I think you can remember patients and what they're like before they were glued to such apparatuses. But maybe this is Judaism's way of saying, get back to the things that make us happy. Spending time with family, celebrating our faith, redefining community, family dinners, perhaps a good book club, or doing something special. I don't want this to believe that I seem Pollyannish about a prescription. But we know that family, faith, community socializing is good for us. Perhaps this will ease in the mental health disorders that we see. July 4th is a day that we come united as a country. But last week, it was so painful for so many Americans to see. I want to end this drash to teach us that faith and prayer can always uplift a broken community. And after all, Judaism has been standing for over 5,000 years for this exact reason. The people of Highland Park are aching for years. The people of Southside Chicago, Philadelphia, recently New York, Denmark, Ukraine, perhaps we forgot about that. So we end this drash beseeching God's help. And I ask Hannah Winters to lead us in a prayer that brings her comfort in Psalm 23.
Adonai roi lo echsar binot l'shei arbitzeini al mei menuchot Yancheni b'maglei tzedek, Yancheni b'maglei tzedek, leman shemo. Yam ki Adonai roi
We rise together, Aleinu 586.